Hello, Amber.
Hello, Jen. So excited to go over this book today and to talk to you because I love you.
Feelings mutual, girl.
So this book that we're going to be talking about today, Not Going Anywhere, has been on my TBR list for a while. It's just been hanging out on my Kindle, and I'm not sure exactly why I didn't ever want to go through it. Like, I don't know if it's the cover of the book or the blurb that was written. I don't know, but I'm so glad that we dove into it because I loved it. I loved it. And I'm just going to say, kind of like a spoiler of this book, but this story grabbed me by the collar and it didn't let go. I devoured this bad boy in like one sitting.
Welcome to Morally Gray Babes. We're your hosts, Jen and Amber, two unapologetic book addicts diving deep into the steamiest reads, hottest book boyfriends, and those spicy moments that make you blush.
Amber here, and we're not just here to talk plot twists and character arcs. We're breaking down everything from our favorite quotes to the spice levels that really bring the heat.
Expect a lot of laughs, a little cussing, and some seriously hot takes. Whether we're gushing over fictional men or dishing out the truth on what books deserve the hype, nothing is off limits.
So buckle up, Buttercup, and get ready for real, raw, and totally unfiltered book talk. Because we're the book besties you didn't know you needed.
If like your thing is a megaverse tales brimming with like possessive alphas, raw emotions, and a mega who isn't about to let anyone push her around, this is like you're gonna eat this one up. So one thing I didn't know, and I guess we should talk about this book a little bit before I dive
Yes.
more, but it's by Alicia Williams. Yeah, Alicia Williams. I actually tracked her down to make sure. On Instagram, she goes by Alicia Williams author. If you want to follow her, I don't know. I'm sharing that as well. But
Well, that's good. A lot of people like to follow authors.
one of the things I didn't know was this was part of a series called Collingwood series. In Collingwood, they mentioned. Girl, I didn't even know either until
I didn't know. I'm like, because we like the book, so we
I
want
know.
to read more.
So they make one statement in the book how Collingwood is this program that most alphas go through and it helps them match unmated packs with omegas, right? But
Yes.
in the author's note, which sometimes I skip over, and apparently I did when I initially read it, because when I was going back to, for my notes on this podcast, I saw that this was actually part of the Collingwood series. So, Jen, buckle up. We got to go through some.
Woo! We love this. It's an Omegaverse, just to let you know. So the Not Going Anywhere, it's KNOT. Just as a heads up.
That is true.
If you're searching for it. Yeah.
So the tropes in this, it's a Valentine's Day setting that kicks off this book, and I thought it was perfect because we were reading it right in time for the holiday season. It's a reverse harem omegaverse, and the reason why I say reverse harem omegaverse is because it's a female main character and with multiple male main characters, but they're all brothers. So thank heavens there's no incest in this book. It is all the guys are focused on the girl. And so that's what makes it a reverse harem. Because sometimes in a megaverse, sometimes it's other people having relationships, but not in this one.
And that's called Why Choose, right?
Whenever there's other couples in the
Yes,
Why Choose. This has alpha brothers. There's an age gap, scent match, chef's kiss, sweet and growly alphas, a secret famous omega author, an alpha with a complicated past. There's heats, there's knots, there's nesting. There's alphas who play hockey for fun, and there's this sassy take no shit omega. Like, it also has this like fuck it moment, right? Whenever the guys just like fuck it and they just dive in.
Oh, we love that like so much.
So those are the tropes. Obviously, because it's a megaverse, we're going to say this is an 18 plus read. So if you're not 18 and older, please vacate the premises. Otherwise, we'll dive in. Do you want to go over the blurb?
Yeah, I'm well, like the book blurb or my blurb.
I don't have the book blurb. I have my own blurb, but you can.
Yeah, if you're looking for a fun, steamy, and fast-paced Omegaverse read, this one definitely delivers. Maya is an indie author who writes under a pen name. And she isn't just keeping her identity a secret from the world, she's also convinced she's too much for any relationship. Enter Grant, Benji, Holden, and Phoenix, a pack of devoted alphas, when Maya reluctantly signs up for a Valentine's Day speed dating event. She's just hoping for a date, but instead she ends up finding her pack, or almost all of them. So this was a fun ride for start to finish. It like pulled me in really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
There was plenty of sexual tension, nodding, alpha obsession, all those things. The chemistry, was intense. And Phoenix's, they call him Nyx, right? His resistance to his bond with Maya actually makes for some of the best delicious tension, in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, I'm like, tell us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like there were so many things that I liked about this book, but let's just cover a few things first before we talk about what we loved and what irked us a little bit, and then quotes, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing we have, book boyfriends. It's the Jameson pack. Apparently, it's the wealthiest pack in California, naturally.
Naturally.
Like with any good Omegaverse, it's the
Of
wealthiest.
course.
So we have Benji, Holden, Grant, and Phoenix. So Benji is the baby brother. He's the one that has the meet cute with Maya first. They all kind of work together with one company, and they have different roles and different things that they are highly successful with in that company. I'm not gonna go like dive into that too much. It's just like Benji, he's sweet and sexy. Holden is flirty and confident. The next one is Grant. He's a romance reader, which I thought was really sweet. He's also really quiet. And I want to say they're all like a year apart. And then 10 years older from Grant is Nyx. And he is reluctant to be with an Omega as he's been scorned in the past. And I loved the brothers. We'll talk about that later. But anyway, book boyfriends. There we go. Then we have like the dedication and nicknames. And so the dedication I thought was really, I thought it was really nice and simple. And some are like always like, I dedicate this to my dad who won't be able to read this book because, or I dedicate this to so-and-so. But this one I thought was just a really nice book about how like your life, you can always pivot, right? And like how this isn't the last chapter. There's more chapters in your story. So it says, life is like a book. Each day is a new page ready to be lived. Remember, when things are not as bright as you'd like them to be, hold on and keep reading. This isn't your final story. The rest is still unwritten.
And the song Unwritten kind of plays throughout this book.
There you go.
I would say.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
I'll say the ones that I have, but you probably have a more comprehensive list, I'm sure. I love how Lulu, her best friend, calls her babe.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's the cutest thing ever. I really like that. I guess her best friend and quasi-assistant.
Yeah.
When you read the book, you'll know.
Awesome.
Baby Girl by Benji. I love me a baby girl. I love that. Baby and Love by Grant. Princess by Holden. And then Phoenix's family nickname is Nyx, Nix. Those are all I have. I'm sure you probably have.
No,
more.
that's what I have too. And I do like how Lulu calls her babe, right? I like that. Because it just, to me, it seems like it's more of a sisterly love relationship. Like,
yes,
really close.
yes. More, it's deeper.
It's a deeper,
yeah.
more intimate friendship. And I love that. I am not a fan of Baby Girl. I'm not a fan of Baby. I'm not a fan of Princess. Like,
I'm not a fan of that either.
I mean, I'm fine reading it in a book, but
yeah,
no. And I don't know why. I just, those are not things that I like for myself.
I like Baby Girl, especially by an obsessed male character. Would I want my husband calling me that? No, not at all. Like, not even a little bit. But in books, it's kind of like how male characters growl or something like that. It's just a little, I don't know, it just makes my heart skip a little bit in a book.
Okay, well, that's Jen's thing. Amber's is not.
That might be my thing. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I like unique names. I feel maybe that's it. It's because it's like so non-personal, right? Like we
That's
read
true.
books and it's like he calls her Little Dove because she does these things, or he calls her
Yes.
Hummingbird because she's so flighty, right? Like they have like different reasons, and I feel like Baby Girl is just so freaking generic, and it's just
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
but don't get me started with the book that the nickname was Christmas Spirit, because that just won.
I was just literally going to say that. That was unique.
I don't like that either. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, nicknames need to be a little bit short too, right? Short to the point.
Yeah.
Christmas
Yes.
Spirit is too many syllables.
And dumb. And it's just plain dumb. Sorry.
Sorry.
I still can't stop saying that.
So we're just gonna come back to this book.
Okay. We're going to come back.
Obviously we have mixed feelings on the nicknames. I mean, I don't mind reading them. I feel like they can be better. But things that I loved about this book. Oh, there's so many. I loved that the female main character was this kick-ass author, right? She had a pen name. She was able to like be financially independent. I
love that.
Yes, I loved how she kept like swiping past all these packs because she didn't feel that connection. Like she was waiting. She didn't feel the need to like conform or be pressured into finding a pack. And I love that. I loved how she also dealt with social anxiety, was also a part of her life. And I felt like I could relate a smidge to that. And I felt like a connection there.
Yeah.
I also love when the guys fall first and hard. I know.
That's what we like.
And I'm a sucker for scent mates. Like, I don't know. Like when the guys become obsessed with the girl, heart swoon. I'm also a big fan when guys try to fight the obsession, like Phoenix did in this book.
Because they fall harder when they try to fight it in the beginning.
Exactly.
I found.
And I like how in this book, so I like scent mates, but I like how they really, I feel like I love scent mates, but if I was an Omega, I would get very pissed off if they only liked me because of my scent, right? Like if that was
Yeah.
the connection. And so I like this book because yes, they were scent mates, which you always want, but I love it when they love the Omega for her qualities and what she was able to do,
Yes.
her personality.
And they lift her up.
Yes.
They literally lift her
They
up.
supported her.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
And so that's what I loved about this book. I'm a sucker for scent mates. I like it when they're
That's
mates,
what
but
you
I
mean.
love it when they support her and they love her for her, not just the fact that they're scent mates. I also thought that the Valentine's dating mixer was a cute touch and an intro into a book that I hadn't read
Totally.
before. So I thought that was a little unique because I was like, oh my gosh, to be in this like Omegas and having to go in a room with all these alpha packs all at once, and like obviously we don't have alphas and megas here, but
Yeah.
Like-
It was unique. I
Yes.
definitely
I
agree.
think so. So what did you love?
Well, you know me and the obsession. I love when, and it doesn't need to be an Omegaverse, I just love when a guy just is all in. Like all in. I in particular loved how loving and accepting and helpful they were with her anxiety.
Yes.
Like they thought of her first in many situations, and
They had very
it's because
public-
they
had very
and they
public
yes,
occupations and a lifestyle, and they tailored that to her. And
correct.
yeah,
And the fact that their mom had the same situation, there was like a connection, a real big connection. And she immediately, by the way that they reacted, because she's used to people shutting her down and saying, okay, you're too much.
Yeah.
Like she always felt too much. And I mean, I feel like every woman really wants to be their best person, and to have a partner that supports them and uplifts them, and vice versa, obviously, is really like the goal. This book did so well. I love that she, again, like you were saying, was financially independent. Oftentimes, I think especially in Omega situations, the Omega typically doesn't work or is working till she finds her pack. And so this I felt was a little bit more unique in reading the Omegaverse. I also loved how they were all brothers.
That
I
was
don't
unique.
know that we've done where the whole pack are real actual like genetic brothers, right? Like some are, and then they call each other brother. Like there's a lot of stuff, but I definitely love that too. And the start, like you said, of doing like the dating, which she clearly did not want to do, but she was doing, was why I think I got sucked in so hard so fast. Like it was a really good choice for the author to do that.
The other thing that I liked, I don't think we mentioned it, is that yes, she was an independent, financially secure indie author under a pen name, and I loved how the guys were trying to. I like the dates that they planned, right? First for her, they tailored to her. It was perfection. And then I love, and I'm not going to say what they are because
I know, I was like, yeah,
I can't say too much. But I thought those were cute. But I loved how the guys were trying to figure out who she was, like which author she was.
yes.
And it was cute because they support her by like buying her books and like, I think this is her, and like they would just dive deep
and read it. Everyone like
Yeah.
that. Some of them would actually read it, and yeah. And then I loved in the book, one of them, she discovers that one of them thought that she was the author and read the book. And then there was that oh shit moment because she wrote a sexy book and the person that she's dating or whatever, it like has read her graphic book. Like that's uncomfortable, I would imagine.
Well, in their first, the Valentine mixer, she was saying how she writes romance, and they're like, oh, and she's like, yeah, the smuttier the better. And I was like, it's like, oh, okay. She was a little snarky.
Oh, yes, she was.
She had a backbone. I also loved how, even though Phoenix was trying to distance and was really growly and didn't want to be a part and put his foot down, he's like my brothers can have their Omega. I am not. Like, this is where I stand. And then once she learns his past,
and she was okay with that too.
She was okay.
I thought that was.
I thought that was really good,
Mm-hmm.
right? I love that, like, maturity, that emotional maturity that Omega had. And
Shocker.
Because most times I feel like when people have Omegas that they write about, they're whiny and they don't understand and they kind of collapse. But she was like, no, like, it's totally fine. Like, I'm not going to.
As long as you're fine and I'm fine,
yeah,
we're all fine.
Yeah.
Like, everybody wanted to feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. I know that sounds really silly the way I said it, okay. But like everybody was concerned about each person that was going to be a part of the pack that was comfortable with whatever they were comfortable with. And exactly. I like that a lot.
And so I loved how she gave him space to come to his like realization and his growth. I liked that part. Now, because we could talk about what we liked about this book, but let's talk about what irked us.
Yeah, I'll start.
I remember texting you one specific thing, and it like irked me so bad.
Yeah. So with everything that we loved,
yes,
right? The book does lean heavily on inner dialogue, and that's something that I enjoy for insights, but I like into what the characters' sort of thoughts are. But in this case, several times through the book, it really slowed the pace of my reading because I had to you have a question 4 pages later of inner dialogue for both of them, and then there's an answer, and I'm like, what the F was the question? Like, I have to literally go back pages, and I that is a little frustrating. So having said that, the insights were important to the story, and the book overall, it didn't mess with my overall rating, but I definitely, if that's something that really bugs you, this book will bug you.
That bugged me. That was my only irk. And I remember voxing you, telling you that the inner dialogue was getting a bit lengthy in some areas, so much that I had to flip back pages to see what question they asked because the answer finally appeared and I had no clue. And I was like, wait, who's talking? Why are they talking? Who else is in the room? What is happening? And I agree. It takes you out of the book. And I think anytime that you're taken out of the book, it ruins the book a little, right? It ruins the experience. So that was my only irk in this book.
And it was throughout the book. Like, I can understand it, authors lean on that heavily in the beginning for sort of world building and information in internal dialogue, like insights.
It was
But to
consistent.
have it carry through past that 60% when you want it to speed toward the end, it felt like it got longer, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So now let's move on to quotes because I have a smorgasbord.
I only have 3 on this one.
Okay. And I highlighted ones that I think that we have that are the same, so I don't read yours.
Oh, good.
It feels amazing to have a book loved by millions, but I'd be just as grateful if I only had a handful of readers who loved my books. I'd be honored to know that my books help just one person escape from reality for a little bit. It's the readers who have messaged me saying how my books have saved their lives that mean the most to me, not the money. And
That was beautiful.
I just I just like that because I think so many times authors, right? We read these books and they do help us escape or it helps us to relate in some way. I know when we were reading this, Jen was going through something hard and challenging and we're not going to touch base on it, but and it was a good like mental distraction in the moment.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we forget that. To me, I mean, that's why I love books is not to escape every single day. Like that's not why we read, but I like I like having that. And I used books as an escape mechanism when I was a kid, right? So I don't know, just to have that little mention in there of how she looks at success for her writing. And to me, it also means that the author who wrote this also may feel that way. Yeah, I
Mhm.
just thought it was a really good quote. Yeah, now your turn.
So this is Lulu talking to her friend. She says, I know that look, Lulu teases, snapping me out of my thoughts. Shut up, I laugh. I gotta go. Yeah, you gotta go get knotted over and over and over and over again. She's like, I'm hanging up, I warn, grinning as I press the end button. So that's like a little insight to their teasing friendship. And I really loved their, and they didn't even touch on it a whole lot, but these little interactions
Mhm.
really magnified their relationship. It was enjoyable.
Yeah, so much that now that I know that this is a series, I'm gonna go back to see if Lulu has a book.
That's exactly right.
So I have two that I'm gonna share, and they're kind of back to back, and it's basically just more internal dialogue, but it kind of gives you insight of Maya, the main character. And one is she's getting dressed to go to the event, and so remember she's like this socially awkward person. She it has like a little bit of anxiety going out. She mainly stays home and she writes, right? And so getting dressed up is not her thing. That being said, the pack that she's meeting live in that limelight and they always are on like in the spotlight, always glammed up. So she's getting dressed to go to this Valentine fiesta thing. And she says, if your man can't love you and your house gremlin side, he doesn't deserve your supermodel side. And I highlighted that because
Oh, that's so good. I don't remember that. That's so good.
I highlighted it because I tell that to my hubby all the time. I was like, if you can't handle my sweats, you can't handle me dressed up. Because
Correct.
I'm a homeschooling mom who works from home, right? Like I'm always in athleisure wear. So it just made me chuckle to myself. The other one that I have is it hit home for me. It just hit home. Like I felt like a connection with the female main character. And I love when that happens. And it's not all the time, right? But this one, she says, growing up, I hardly had any friends. I was in a permanently awkward stage. I always talked a lot. I was a little odd, and I enjoyed things a lot of kids didn't. And I, I felt that because it was like a running joke growing up that I was awkward from the age of 11 to 25. Like that was kind of like the joke. I also got married at 25, so maybe my upstart made me less awkward. But I just felt that. I was like, okay. And I think that's why I also enjoyed this book is that the female main character is older, right? Is an older, slightly older Mega. I feel like she was like in her mid-20s, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times we read them, they're like 17, 18, and it's like, ugh.
I'm
I didn't
like,
have
what?
emotional
Yeah,
maturity
yeah.
at 17 or 18. Like, good Lord. But anyway, I liked
That's
that
good.
statement.
My next one is, so when they go to this Valentine's Day thing, they have scent controllers, right, going off inside because of the whole alpha pheromones, all that stuff. So they didn't have a full smell of her. She didn't have a full smell of them, I guess is kind of what I'm saying.
Mhm.
So she says, but I can't deny that my body feels, but I can't deny what my body feels as my nose fills with their scents. A mix of gingerbread, salted caramel cake, English toffee. My sweet tooth has me practically moaning. There is no lying to myself. Pac Jameson is my scent match. It's kind of like when she like understood the ramifications of it.
I love it. I have some spicy ones, but I feel like I don't want to share those right now.
Okay.
Or I don't know. I mean, I have like 3 spicies. I know you have 1 spicy.
I only have one left. It's yeah,
It's a little spicy.
it's spicy.
And let's see. I'm going to say I like this one because it shows the relationship of the men. And I want to say this is Holden, the quiet romance reader. He says, "You're going to have to give me that pen name soon, princess. I want to read all of your books and find out just what scene you want us to bring to life."
Yes.
I was like, yeah.
Yeah. And then my last one, so this is her. So she's in a situation with one of the guys, and she says, being a gentleman is overrated. I'm going to say that again because it just made the noise. Being a gentleman is overrated. I whine, turning to look at him. Don't be a gentleman. Be a bad boy and do dirty, dirty things to me. Please.
I have the quote where he has his fuck it moment, but I feel like people need to read it to get it.
Yeah.
This is the one where obviously the book, right? Her and Phoenix are having a moment and he realizes and he's coming to terms and it like he grovels. So, and I love it.
We love a good grovel here.
I love it when the grovel is
grovel.
warranted and they do it, right? If it's not warranted, don't do it. But
yeah.
He says to her, "Don't be afraid to humble me, Maya. I was an asshole from the moment we met and for a while after. I lumped you into a group you didn't belong because of the fucked up mindset I've had for years, and that wasn't fair to you. I was wrong, and I'm really fucking sorry. I was a fool, blinded by my past, but I want to make this crystal clear." I reach out and cup her face, her chest rising and falling as her eyes dart between mine. "I want you, Maya. I want to be the alpha you deserve. When we get back home, let me take you out." "Okay." She blinks up at me, her words spoken on a soft breath. Loved when he says, "I want to be the alpha you deserve." I was like, job.
And he had the most growth, I would say, probably over all the characters. And because of that, I feel like when they did finally connect, it was good. It was really good.
Okay, so this is the one. I have one more quote. I mean, I have tons because they're so good. But this is one to give you kind of insight on Maya a little bit and how the guys see her. So I want to say this is Grant. I want to say it's Grant. Anyway, it says, "You apologize when you bump into inanimate objects. I don't think you have it in you to purposely step on an ant, let alone kill a person." "I don't mean to," she says, a sad look on her face. "They're just everywhere, you know. It's hard not to." My brows furrow in question. "Hard not to what?" "Step on ants! Come on, Grant, keep up." A chuckle bursts free. "I love you." Her face softens and a smile graces her tempting lips. "I love you too." I loved it. Yeah, that's what I loved. I loved it because it shows a little bit of like her snarkiness and how, yeah. And I also, when I bump into inanimate objects, I apologize, and Dusty my hamster finds it hilarious. But that's just something that happens. You just say you're sorry if you hit the table. Oh, anyway.
What would you rate this in terms of spiciness?
I feel I feel like we should have a
I
Omegaverse
know.
spice rating compared to anything else.
I was going to have a full paragraph explaining that.
Because a megaverse is one person, one female, usually with multiple men, right? Sometimes there's women involved. Sometimes the men are also involved with each other, blah, blah, blah. This was not the case. Reverse harem, a megaverse. Honestly, I felt like as an megaverse, it was kind of mild. I mean, there were some spicy scenes. Like, I'm not going to downplay that. There's spicy scenes, but the storyline carried the book. And I gave it a solid 3. I feel like that's right.
Me too. I thought we were going to be different, but I put 3 for a megaverse because I had a whole paragraph in there explaining everything, and I was like, nah, I'm just going to say 3 for a megaverse. It might be a 4 or a 5 if you've never read a megaverse. So it just depends on your reading. Like, that's why we have caveats for like everything when it comes to rating.
If it was like, okay, if we're going to, I think we said this in like one of our first episodes, was like, if we're going to compare this to like ACOTAR, right? A Court of Thorn and Roses, which I feel like most people have read, and we have mixed reviews. So we're not going to go into that one. But,
there's that too.
So this would probably be a 4 compared to ACOTAR. To me, was like a 2.
Correct.
So if you read that and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so spicy, buckle up, Buttercup. But if you are like read in a megaverse, this will be a 3 for you.
And I would say too that this would be a great Omegaverse, and I think I've said this about one other book as well, but this would be a great dipping your toe in Megaverse because they're all brothers and there's no sword crossing, I guess you'd call it, right? It is an easier to read book.
Yes.
In that situation, you do any other Omegaverse probably, and you're going to be a little shocked. I was when I first read Omegaverse. Now I'm like, nothing makes me.
You're welcome.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, I think this would be because the story is so good and all the characters are so likable and you so dislike Phoenix until the end. I mean, I didn't dislike him. I loved him, but I'm like, she's for you. Like the whole book. I'm like, what are you doing?
My heart just broke. Like whenever he came into the scene and like he had his like rough little episode.
Ugh,
I was just like, we laughed. You hurt.
We'll take care of you.
Like I didn't even you didn't even get his story yet, and I was just like, ja baby. It's okay.
Who was your favorite? Because we love to touch on book boyfriend stuff. Who was your favorite of the characters?
Oh crap.
I know. I really liked them all pretty evenly, so it's hard.
I feel like that's a tough one. I loved the romance reader, right? I loved him. I like how he read. I think
Holden.
that was oh my god, which one was that?
Holden.
Was that Holden?
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was Grant.
Was the romance reader. I liked him because he read the books on his own first. Like that was his thing, and he tried to recreate some of the things. Benji was just like that golden retriever. And just
make you feel so loved all the time. Like he was the one that could really calm her down in moments.
And Holden was kind of just like super flirty and confident, and Holden would be my number 4 out of the brothers. I feel like
correct.
I feel like Phoenix, if he was more dominating and growly, he would be my number 1. But he's not for some reason.
Yeah, I think it would be between Grant and Phoenix. For me, it would be between Grant and Phoenix.
Mine would be Grant and Benji.
Yeah, Grant and Benji.
I like the baby brother who was sweet and sexy and golden retriever energy.
I think I like Grant and Phoenix.
See?
Phoenix, I think, is in that top spot for me because of the growth that he took.
Yeah.
And how when he did commit, she knew he was fully committed because he had already come so far.
Yeah.
And he's big and hulky, and
they were all kind of big and hulky, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's true. They were all, because she was tall too, right? As I recall, was that this book?
So for this book, I would say, I already kind of gave y'all my like recap of like this book, right? But I would say just dive in. Like the water's fine. It's fiery. I would say solid 4. And I would recommend this for someone who likes the Megaverse that maybe wants a little sweet, right? Like sweet and spicy book.
Guaranteed happy ending.
Yeah. Well, we only
Maybe.
read happy endings, so.
That's true. The overall story was engaging. I read it in a single day. I do love quick read. I love quick reads that are good.
This
I
was
guess
a
I should
quick
preface
read.
that. It was a quick read and it was good, right? You don't always get those. And if you love if you haven't tried a Megaverse, this is a great to stick your toe in. Possessive alphas, emotional depth, which I really loved, and a determined Omega who knows what she wants. And I don't often find that in a Megaverse. So
Yeah,
we love a strong female character.
She was independent and snarky, and I love it. Like,
solid 5-star read for me.
ooh.
I'm sorry. Solid 4-star read for me.
There we go. Like, we can't be giving out those 5s.
And I will say too, if the inner dialogue was culled down or entered the book by way of speaking by the characters, right? So it wasn't like 4 and 5 pages of inner dialogue. It could have been very close to a 5 for me. That was how enjoyable it was for me.
Really, 5 stars are just really hard for me to give, and I think it's
I know.
because,
I'm not giving it. It's a 4.
Yeah, 5 stars are like my Roman empires, where I think about them daily, and I only have one book series that is a 5-star.
I need to read, which I think you're going to maybe change your mind. No, just kidding.
No, you can't change my mind. I love it. It has okay. We're not going to talk about it right now.
No, we're not going to dive deep. But
oh my gosh,
because I know it's 12:05. So
okay, but I think 5 stars are those Roman Empire books where you think about them every day. And even though I love this book, it's not one that I'm going to think about every day. And I don't think like that's the author's intention, right? It's like a read that is, I love it. Will I read it again? Possibly, right? Maybe in like a year or two. But
it would be one that I would probably,
if I'm like, oh, I need a sweet and spicy, like a Megaverse with a snarky Omega, I totally read this. But it's not one that I'm going to think about every single day.
Well, thanks for tuning in, babes. If you loved hanging out with us today, do not forget to check out the show notes for all those juicy details and links.
You can also discover your next book boyfriend with our epic quiz, which is in the link in our show notes, like Jen said. And of course, follow us for more spicy reads, those hot takes, and unfiltered fun. Until next time, stay morally gray.